Animal Crossing New Horizons is the latest Switch 1 game to receive a paid Nintendo Switch 2 Edition upgrade pack. This time, it's been more interesting than other upgrades Nintendo have released for their games so far. This is mainly due to the 3.0 update for the game that dropped on the same day for both Switch 1 and Switch 2 for free. This free update provided the majority of new content for the game, while the paid Switch 2 upgrade had a much smaller list of additions by comparison. While most other Switch 2 Edition paid upgrades from Nintendo have so far offered additional content, most comparable to a standard DLC pack, Animal Crossing split up the game content and next-gen enhancements. Today we'll take a quick inside look at the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Animal Crossing New Horizons and find out if it's worth Switch 2 players paying to upgrade. When the Switch 2 first launched, it was noticed by many just how much better load times were on the new system, even for backward compatible Switch 1 games such as Animal Crossing. These load times have been improved even further with the paid upgrade pack. What you're seeing now is the difference in loading into the game and saving and exiting the game. I'd also like to note that this video is specifically for Switch 2 players and will be a comparison between the Switch 1 version being played on the Switch 2 and the new native Switch 2 edition. Now for a quick performance comparison. I like to look at these without the frame rate being displayed, as these upgrades should be more about a noticeable difference rather than stopping occasional drops from 30 FPS to 29 FPS, as the majority of paying customers don't notice that in a game that doesn't let you view the frame rate. Both versions are locked to a maximum of 30 FPS, which is unfortunate as a jump to 60 FPS would have added significant value to the paid upgrade pack for a lot of people. With or without the upgrade pack, the game is consistent at keeping the 30 FPS target in most situations on most islands. If you have a very heavily decorated island, like some of the examples on screen which I visited using the Dream feature, then there is always the possibility for some frame drops that the paid upgrade pack may improve further than just running the Switch 1 version. Just to note though, performance on these kinds of islands was already significantly improved by running the Switch 1 version in backwards compatibility, and I could not find a difference by having the upgrade pack. The biggest enhancement on the list is in resolution. The Switch 1 version runs at 1920 by 1080 or 1080p whether you're running that on a Switch 1 or a Switch 2 in backwards compatibility. The new Switch 2 edition runs at 3840 by 2160 or 4K. This is especially noticeable on sharp edges like these railings here, where you can see they're much smoother on the new Switch 2 edition. You can see a lot of this, especially when zooming in. I'd say that it's likely that Nintendo could have opted for 1440p at 60fps or the 4K at 30fps for this game, but they chose to go with the higher resolution as visuals are likely more important to a live sim game rather than higher frame rates for most people. The other additions listed for the Switch 2 edition paid upgrade is the use of the new megaphone item using the system's microphone. There's also the ability to play with up to 12 players online and the option to use the camera while playing together. There's also mouse mode functionality for decorating, which could prove useful for a lot of players that like decorating their homes. So far, this is the cheapest Switch 2 edition upgrade pack by Nintendo, and at the low price it's hard to argue that you do get a list of enhancements. But you can also see that Nintendo have released free updates to Switch 1 games with a very similar list of enhancements. The thing that I believe causing this to be a paid upgrade is the camera functionality, which likely required a natively compiled Switch 2 version of the game to be able to use. I think for most players it's going to depend on whether the enhancements will affect how you play the game, or if you're someone who wants your games to look as good as they can be. But there is also a lot to be said for the improvements you get just by playing the Switch 1 version on the Switch 2. That's all for this quick video. If you enjoyed, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more content to come in the future.